right, so today we're here with Laura Dahl, broker owner of Music City Experts here in Middle Tennessee.
Yep.
Laura Dahl, welcome to the VIRAL Real Estate Podcast. Thanks for joining.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, there's a lot to know, I guess. Like an onion, lots of layers. I have been in real estate for I was 19 when I got a license, so 20-some years.
Okay.
I have been a broker in 3 states. I'm from Virginia originally. Got my broker's license the first opportunity I was eligible, so right at 3 years.
Okay.
And then I sold real estate there for a number of years, and then we transferred to South Carolina.
Okay.
Opened my own firm in South Carolina. Moved to a city I'd never been to, never had family, never visited, and decided I was going to open my own shop.
All right.
So big, bold.
Interesting.
Bold move there. And then I sold that company to the largest Coldwell Banker franchise in the Low Country in a declining market for a little bit of money.
Okay.
Which doesn't happen. Usually they absorb you and take your agents, and they gave me a little bit of money and liked what I created, and then left there and went to North Carolina for about 10 months. I was a high school Spanish teacher. I needed a break from real estate.
Yeah.
And left there and came to Nashville, and I've been here 10 years, and I'm a broker here, and then I opened my firm in October of 2017, and we are about 43 agents as of yesterday. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Thanks.
Impressive.
Thanks.
So lots of stops along the way. So you started selling real estate in Virginia.
Right. My mom was a realtor, so
I
grew up listening to her talk about real estate around the dining room table, and I used to sit there and say, "Can't we talk about something else?"
Now it's full
I do
circle.
that to my children.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was the transition? Because if you grew up talking about real estate around the dining room table, being annoyed by it, what made you want to get into real estate?
Well, I mean, I always watched my mom. My mom was, a single mom a lot of growing up, and I watched her provide for us.
Sure.
And, she also had freedom to be there for us, like after school or at school events or whatever. And then, the money always was very enticing at 19 years old. I saw the ability to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And it was something I was really good at naturally too.
Yeah.
So, I just had to work hard at 19 trying to get people to trust me and respect me and know that I knew what I was talking about.
Sure.
So luckily I had great training. I had an amazing, incredible broker. And, she taught me a lot. I had a great foundation. And I also worked in an office where it was a large independently owned company that had like 22 offices. Each office had 100 agents in it, and the office that I worked in was some of the best in the company. And so I cut my teeth with really high producers, multi-million-dollar, in volume. And so I just had great training, great foundation.
That's awesome.
So that helped.
Yeah, that always helps.
Yeah.
So did you work with your mom? Was your mom at the same brokerage?
She was at the same brokerage. She was at the same office, but we did not work together as a team. That would have been disastrous.
Yeah.
So my mom and I were a lot alike, and so that would not have worked very well. But, she was always very proud, especially when I got my broker's license. And
that's awesome.
I think...
So you got your broker's license at 22.
Yeah.
That's impressive. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's very cool. But I just had it. I wasn't in any supervisory role or anything like that. But I got it young. Yeah. So the first time I could.
Yeah. Well, how old were you, or how long were you in the business before you started using your broker's license?
Well, not until I moved to South Carolina, so I probably had it 7, 8, 9 years maybe before. Because we moved to South Carolina in 2006.
Okay.
So, I had it a little bit, but I really wasn't using it as the full capacity until I opened my own firm.
Sure. So, and what brought you to South Carolina?
So I was married at the time, and my husband was military.
Okay.
And so we transferred. He was a Navy physician, and so we lived in Parris Island.
Okay.
And he was at the Naval Hospital in Beaufort. So.
Okay. Yeah. You did that, sold to a large Coldwell Banker franchise, right? And then you taught Spanish, came to Nashville.
Yeah, so I tell people that I used to sell real estate to Marine Corps fighter pilots, doctors, and attorneys. And if you can sell a house to a Marine Corps fighter pilot, you can sell a house to anyone. They are type A, very data driven, fact finders.
Wow.
You know, you've got to have it in black and white.
For sure.
And they want to see the analytics and the data. So if you can sell a house,
good for you. Good on you. Yeah.
And I loved selling houses.
I'm stressing out just thinking about that.
Well, they're just meticulous, and so that's the other thing. I loved my listings from those people because the house was very well maintained. I never had to beg them to do things.
Yeah.
You know,
they were on it.
Here's your list of what I need you to do, and they did it.
They did it.
You know, I loved it. Loved it. So you don't fight with people and beg them to do things. You know, they just know this is what I need to do. I respect your advice.
For sure.
So I'm going to follow it. So it was beautiful. But I got a degree in Spanish and criminal justice. You know, when I was young, 19, 20, it was bothering me that I hadn't finished college.
Okay.
And so I sat down with my broker and I said, you know, unfortunately, I'm going to have to go to part-time because I need to go finish my degree. And my broker said, well, Laura, you're really good at this. You don't need a degree to sell real estate. And I said, well, I get that.
Yeah.
I need it for me.
Okay, so it was a thing for you. Like your conscience, you're like, I need to finish this. I started it.
100%.
Got it.
Yeah, it was a lot of self-driven.
I respect that.
Self-imposed pressure. I was also the first one in my family to go to college. So
okay, that's huge.
I mean, my brother, you know, he kind of dabbled here and there, but I was the first one to go and get a degree.
Sure.
And so it was a big deal to me.
That is important.
And it was something nobody could ever take from me. You know, something that I was super proud of. And so I quit. You know, I started selling real estate part-time, went to school and finished my degree in Spanish and criminal justice. And the plan was always that I was supposed to be a federal law enforcement officer. Okay. So FBI, NCIS, before NCIS was popular. I had an aunt who was...
technically, you could be, and we just want to know, right?
Don't know, yeah. But my aunt
Music City experts.
Right, it's just a cover, all of it. But my aunt was an NCIS agent, so I was just very fascinated at 13 and 14 years old of looking at her crime scene photos.
Oh, wow.
So but in any event, I finished my degree and I just kept selling real estate, and it just, you know, there was no way. I taught for a little while when I was having my children, and at the end of the day, I would have 9 or 10 phone calls and voicemails at the end of the day, and I really felt like I couldn't do both well. Sure. So I stopped teaching and focused on real estate full time. But when I sold my company in South Carolina, I was so burnt out. I was working 100 hours a week. Yeah. You know, I had 44 listings of my own that I couldn't sell. You know, every buyer pool we had dried up. Oh. You know, the market definitely hurt that area.
So what year was this?
This is 2009, 2010.
Ooh, yeah, right.
Right. And so every buyer pool we had, there were military people, their COs were telling them not to buy, encouraging them to rent. The move-up buyers couldn't sell their existing house. The portfolio second home properties, because a lot of vacation rentals, they weren't buying, you know, they weren't able to retire when they wanted to. So every buyer pool you have is gone.
Yeah,
so
overnight.
I became a glorified property manager. And every single one of those families, you know, every single one of those listings represented a family that I felt like I was personally responsible.
Oh yeah, you care. You're a very empathetic person. So it's hard when you have one listing sitting.
And there were 44 of them.
Yeah.
And I was already living that life. My husband had already transferred to North Carolina, and so I was left behind with the boys and my house and my business. And I knew what kind of strain that was putting on my marriage, and so every one of those families represented the same situation to me. And so I took it personally. I was overwhelmed with stress and grief, and it just was hard. And so by the time I sold my company, you know, I was under a contract to work with them for another year. But by the time I got out, I didn't care if I ever sold another house again. So I just said, well, I'll go teach some high school kids. Well, those 10 months, I fell in love with these children.
Absolutely.
I fed them, invited them to my pool. You know, I still talk to them to this day. But then when I got to Nashville, you know, I just got sucked right back into real estate.
Yeah, we'll do that.
You know, and this has probably been one of the best places I've ever sold. So, you know, between Virginia and South Carolina and here, this is definitely my favorite. So,
just in terms of the market conditions?
Market conditions are great, but not only that, you know, I feel like there's a lot of money in our town that makes financing a little easier. You're working with a lot of relocation, which is my specialty anyway, which are the people I love to work with because I've moved so much. I know what they need, what they want, and I love, you know, the how alive our economy is, all the industries, all the businesses that exist here, the companies, and I'm proud to show off our town. So
yeah, for sure. It's a town that's easy to show off.
Easy to brag about.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so cool. So relocation, did not know that. How did you get into that niche? How do you actively pick up those kinds of clients?
Well, the big thing is making connections with corporations here, the smaller corporations, not the big that have in-house relo people.
Nissan.
Like not the send-and-own company referral basis, but especially for an independent broker like me, it's just really getting one-on-one time with decision makers in the smaller companies and the people that have less than 100 employees, maybe.
Yeah.
And really sitting down.
They probably connect with the fact that you're the same.
Right.
That resonates with them.
100%. And then really making sure that they understand that our job is to make the transition for their employee as easy and seamless as possible so that their employee can get straight to work and that the transition is a lot easier. And so the things that we provide are, some ancillary services like a concierge, if you will.
Okay.
So just making sure that the person has, their doctors lined up and they have special needs children, or if they need an orthodontist or a hair person or, whatever's just going to make that transition from moving from one state to another a lot simpler.
Yeah.
And easier.
Is that point the concierge, when you're having these kind of conversations with the decision makers, is that when their eyes light up? Like what are some of the things that have been huge for kind of closing the deal? Well,
their eyes light up because people don't address, their concern is their workforce getting back to work quickly and efficiency and effectiveness, right? And so when you move, depression is a big deal. You're transitioning, you're leaving behind friends and family, you're leaving behind comforts of what you know. You're moving to a new city that you don't know if you like. You don't know what there is to do there yet. You don't.
Sure.
And that transition time could cause a depletion of efficiency, or you're not getting as much work done, or not being happy in your work, and then you lose good employees too. So the retention part, and that's the part that I don't think a lot of people talk about. So when you're meeting with decision makers, it's really important that you're letting them know what problems you're going to solve to help make their transition a lot easier. And so it's just an extra higher level of service.
That's huge.
Yeah,
love that. So what's cool, you mentioned when you were teaching Spanish, you'd have the students over and you'd feed them and do all this stuff. Not knowing that about you, that you did that as a teacher, it makes total sense, and it's really cool because that's what you do at Music City Experts. Like I see you everywhere. There's always events, and it really does have a unique culture. On social media, at least, it looks like a big old family.
It is a big old family. One of the girls that I got licensed with, we both started at the same time. So I was 19. She was a little older than me, but we came into real estate at the same time, went through training together. She's a big-time broker in D.C.
Okay.
And so we're great friends. We share ideas back and forth. And she actually came for a visit, and I took her to my office. And we were leaving, and she got to meet some of my agents, a couple of my brokers. And we were leaving, and she goes, Laura, your office is nothing like my office. I said, well, I don't know if that's good or bad, but what does that mean?
Yeah,
and she said,
tell me more.
your office is like a family. She said, it's just really cool how they relate to each other. It's very cool. Like the culture that you've created is very cool. And we don't have that. And in D.C., it's very competitive. It's very cutthroat. They don't interact with each other the way my people do. But my culture is also very intentional. So what I found is a lot of agents are longing for, to belong to something. They're longing for, to be a part of something, and the coaching and the mentoring and the training. And that's kind of what we've gone the extra mile to provide. And hospitality is kind of my specialty too. I like, hosting people. And, I've always done that. And so I think in my office, we just try really hard to create an environment where people want to come into the office if they feel welcome. But our office is also the kind of place where if somebody says, hey, I've got a buyer who needs to see a property in Mount Juliet tomorrow at noon, can anybody help? Because I'm busy or whatever. 6 of them will jump on there and say, what time do I need to be there? What's the address? And they don't say, oh, I'll do it for money.
Yeah.
Let me know how I can help you.
Sure.
That's a big deal. That is not created easily. So I'm super proud of the fact of how they relate with each other. So it's cool that you noticed that. So
for sure. I think everyone probably notices that. What you said you've created that intentionally. What are some of the things that you've done practically to kind of create that culture? for people who are like your friend.
Right.
And she's like, this sucks. My agent's like, it's not a family. We have no culture. What advice would you give to people who are trying to create a strong culture within their brokerage?
Well, I think the big thing is making sure that you have events throughout the month where people have the opportunity to attend. So one, obviously, we do a sales meeting. I call it a team meeting. Obviously, we have training, we have vendors that come speak, but I also do celebrations. And my celebrations are not, who had the highest volume, who's the top salesperson. It's like, I want to applaud you for getting your first listing. I want to applaud you for your first sale.
Yeah.
I want to recognize you for showing up to all this training and working so hard and, working in your business and having a good attitude or whatever. And so, you do need to recognize agents who are working really hard and maybe the volume's not quite there yet, but they're working on it, because motivation is hard to keep. Is one thing. So we have a team meeting. The second week of every month, we do a community service project. So that brings all of our agents together, working towards something amazing in the community, serving the community in which we sell in. And it's laid back. They get to know each other. The third week of every month, we do a team social. So we actually do a laid back. We'll go top golf. Top golf, bowling, axe throwing, whatever.
Nice.
Something just for them to hang out with each other. And then the fourth week of every month, we do the bus tour.
Cool.
So, and the bus tour obviously is, for people who don't know, I select an area of town, I select a variety of listings at a variety of price ranges, and then we invite agents from other companies as well. So you get to network with other agents from other companies, and you get to see houses in an area that you might not be familiar with, or you may not have clients currently looking in, and it introduces you to builders, neighborhoods, what you can get from in that area. So, and then we have a book club too, but all of those calendar events contribute to, but the biggest thing.
And those are fun events too.
Yeah, things that people would want to participate in. But the biggest thing I think that helps create the culture is the accessibility. Is having access to me. My office is set up with, I have a workstation out in one room. There's all these chairs that people can work at, and then in my office I have my desk and a big conference room table. My agents will come in and they all sit around the conference table.
Every time I've come in, you've been at your desk, and then there's been agents at the conference table chatting you up or
they will not work in that other room. They don't like to. They like, and I don't mind it. I mean, but the thing is, my door is always open. I am accessible to them. But the biggest thing is being approachable.
Sure.
So I know a lot of brokers struggle with agents say, well, I don't really need my broker. I don't have a lot of questions, or I don't feel like I want to bother my broker because they're so busy. You have to be approachable. In order for your agents to talk to you about what's going on, you've got to be accessible and you have to be approachable. The last thing we do are accountability calls. So for me as a broker, I never wanted one of my agents to go 6 months without a sale and nobody cared, or 3 months without even seeing them or calling them, because you guys don't come into the office all the time. You work remotely, and if you don't come to team meetings or you don't come to staff meetings or trainings, you may not see some of your agents on your roster. So we actually have accountability calls once a week. And a broker, because I have a leadership team, I have 4 brokers in my office total. Every week, one broker, we split up the roster. And so my agents get a call once a week from a leadership team member just saying, how can I help you this week? What are you working on? How are you engaging with your social media this week? How are you marketing and promoting yourself? Do you have any events planned? What can I do to help you with what your goals are this week?
Sure.
And I think that's made a huge difference in just our agents feeling like they are supported, that they're valued, that we care about what they're doing in their business, which helps create that culture too.
That's huge. That's awesome. So you started, when did you start bringing on additional brokers?
So it kind of happened naturally. Adrienne was my first broker, and she actually, I hired her early on, but she always had a goal of becoming a broker very quickly. And then, let's see, Lance and Taylor came on kind of at the similar timing. Both, same thing, were already in the works of getting their broker's license. And so it just morphed where I found 3 people who were so invested in what we were doing that they wanted to be a part of it. And they wanted to be a part of growing our company from the ground up. And they wanted to be a part of investing in agent businesses. That's how our model is a little different than some other people's models. Is that I tell people we don't collect licenses, and if you're looking for a place just to hang your license and do your own thing, we're not the right fit. Because we are going to have an intimate involvement in your business, and that's just to make you grow, to help you
Mm-hmm.
grow, to help you move along without having to figure it out on your own.
Yeah.
And so these three people just naturally wanted to have a leadership role. I wanted to have more accessibility.
Good people too. I don't know Adrian, but I know Lance and I know Taylor are good people.
They're all amazing, actually.
Yeah. I mean, I would assume Adrian.
They're all incredible, but they all bring. What I love is they all bring something different. So my agents get the benefit of my experience and my knowledge in various areas. But Lance specializes in investors and first-time buyers, and Taylor has new construction background. He's been in new construction almost his whole career.
Sure.
And then Adrian is, she has more CE credits than I think any realtor in Middle Tennessee. And so she knows her stuff, and then she's also very good at social media and branding. And so all three of them bring something totally different to the table, and my agents get the benefit from a little bit of each of their experiences.
Sure.
Because each one of them calls,
sure.
They get a different call from each one of them each week.
Sure.
So, which is just very cool to have a very well-rounded team that can kind of handle just about anything that they need help with.
Yeah. So what's the process been like of going from 0 to 43 agents in 2 years? Yeah. I think with a strong culture, I would imagine that it's a lot of just organic, like word of mouth. But like, take us behind the cloak. Like, what has that been like?
Well, the biggest thing I could say is we have not advertised or like really. We don't call rosters. We don't do heavy recruiting campaigns. Yeah. Every agent that we have that has come to us has come through referrals of other people, some of my vendor partners who know somebody would be a good fit for us, or our own agents who they think one of their friends would love to be here too. And so it all has happened organically, which is very cool. But in order to go from 0 to 43 in such a short period of time, I have very specific systems and processes in place. So like our onboarding is very systematic. When an agent transfers to our company, they are up and running within 24 hours on all of our systems. An orientation is scheduled within the first 48 hours, and then they are scheduled to do a one-on-one coaching session with me within 7 days. And there's a checklist, obviously. And
That's
so
awesome.
It's, one day I hired 5 people in one day, and I did it all by myself,
because you
pretty
had the
much by
systems and
myself.
processes
Because
in place.
I have systems
You didn't have
in
to
place.
figure it out for each one.
That's right. And so that's been, kind of the mechanics of it is just having the systems in place. But the growth I would attribute to we're trying to provide some things that I know agents are hungry for, which is the coaching, the training, and the mentorship. But also having the accessibility of 4 brokers is pretty helpful.
That's huge.
Yeah. And I think just organically people are taking note that we're doing something a little differently, and it is agent-centered and agent-focused, and that's bringing people to us. But we're not knocking on doors.
Sure.
We're not calling rosters. We're not inundating agents in their mailboxes with stuff. So, which has been cool. Because it's also attracted the right kind of people.
Sure, yeah. So the bus tours, are those? Would you say those are like 50% y'all's agents, 50% agents from other brokerages?
I would probably say it's about 40% of our agents. It started out heavily, mostly our agents.
And they're doing it every month.
Right. Yeah. But now, we're getting a lot of new faces every month. We've done it for a full year.
Sure.
Every month. Our most popular one was the boat tour, which is
nice.
What we're supposed to do in June as well.
I remember that one, and I wanted to come, and I can't remember, but I didn't come.
Yeah.
I can't remember why. But when you're doing it next month,
we're supposed to do it
if I don't have kids, I'd like to invite myself on that.
You're going to have boys by then. So,
June what?
It's always the last Monday of the month.
Okay. Yeah, that's going to be pushing.
You're going to have boys by then, I'm sure. But last time we hired a big charter boat, which was problematic because a lot of the listing agents, even though we confirmed the depth of the water at the dock, most did not know what the depth of the water at the dock was of their own listing. And our boat captain had a really hard time pulling in, docking the boat for us to look at properties. So we had all these listings lined up.
Oh, wow.
And the agents were misinformed about the depth of the water, and he couldn't pull it.
Oh.
So I think total they...
so you've got some disclaimers going out
right
now.
So this time we're going to do pontoon boats. It makes it easier to get in and out of the dock.
Cool.
We don't have to worry so much about the depth at the dock. But it's always a fun time. But the bus tours, and we have people who have come consistently for a year every single month.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
Every single month they're there. People put it on their calendar a month in advance. You know, and we've had wait lists on a couple of our tours as well, which is very cool. But the value in it is the listing agents. We provide them feedback within 24 hours of the tour as well.
Sure.
They get feedback for their sellers. It's just a fun day usually.
You should get a videographer out there and vlog one for the on the boat
tour.
Because that'd be a blast. I mean, the drone footage and that would just be a lot of really cool, fun footage.
Yeah,
I've got a guy he can use if you need a guy for that.
I need a guy.
So, well, that's cool. So, the people that have come religiously, like month after month after month, that haven't been in your brokerage, have any of them joined your brokerage?
So I have recruited probably about 4 agents from the bus tours.
Sure.
And that's several of them consistently came every month. They heard my message every single month. And one specifically said, it was about $11 million producer, was a great agent. They said, I heard you stand up every month on this bus tour telling me what all you provide. And I started thinking to myself, why don't I get any of this where I currently am?
Sure.
So we've had some success in recruiting. It is a great recruiting tool, but primarily it's to educate agents on the area. The recruiting part is definitely a added bonus.
Sure.
But yes, we have recruited some agents from the bus tour, but trust me, we're not out trying to recruit everyone who comes on the bus tour.
No, I get it. I totally get it. So what about 43 agents? Where's most of y'all's production coming from? Is every agent different in how they grow their business? Or
Absolutely.
Are you steering people in one way, or are you just kind of?
That's a great question. One of the things that makes us unique is all of my agents are required to do 3 one-on-one coaching sessions with me. So they can have as many as they want, but they're required to do 3. That first session is to get to know them, to get to know their business. So do they know who their target client is? Do they know where their business is going to come from? How are they going to get that business? But also, most of our agents come from other industries, right, before they get into real estate.
Sure.
And so my job is to find out what skills they have that we can apply to real estate and that they can use as their bullet points that make them different than other realtors out there. And so that first one-on-one session is really to get to know them and to help them extract their bullet points of what makes them different. And our second coaching session is really to figure out, okay, let's identify who your target client is, and let's help develop a roadmap for you of how you're going to get that target client and where your marketing plan is going to go to, right? And then tweak their presentations. Like, let's look at your branding. Let's look at your marketing. Let's look at how your listing presentation looks. Let's look at your buyer presentation. Are you meeting with a builder? What do you need? What do you need that I can help you polish and make it look better? And then that third session is a check-in. Like, do I need to help write system and process for you? Are you duplicating?
Did you do it? Did you do it? Yeah.
Definitely. How's the implementation going? Yeah. And then do we need to tweak any of that? And then sometimes it's just, do I need to make an introduction to you? So based on what your business looks like, because every one of those 43 agents has a different business, is there someone that I can introduce to you or connect with you that's already doing what you're doing or that you can benefit from knowing?
Sure.
Based on who your target client is and what you're trying to do. So, the steering part is usually a natural process. So a lot of them, when they leave that first coaching session with me, their wheels are spinning and they are overwhelmed. And I tell them, if you are not overwhelmed, then I haven't done my job.
Yeah.
Because you should come into this session, even agents who have a great business plan, they've been a great consistent producer. There's areas we can tweak.
Oh, yeah,
There's areas that we can work on. And they leave that first session like deer in the headlights.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got a great business plan and you're maxing out the areas that you're already in, but you've got the systems in place, let's add another channel for getting business.
Mm-hmm. Or the layer of accountability is the biggest thing. Most of my agents are coming to me because they're lacking in the accountability part, which is they've got great things in place, but they know they could do better. And so I'm working with a lot of them on schedule. I'm working a lot with them on time blocking, working a lot with them on consistency. And then setting up those systems and processes as well. So that part is cool. The ideas that have come out of those coaching sessions have been very cool and exciting to watch. Brand new agents who are very passionate about serving a certain community and have watched them deploy some of their ideas and do it is really cool and rewarding for me just to see them taking action.
That is cool.
Yeah.
That is cool. So what's the what's the long-term vision for Music City Experts? Do you want to just be Music City Experts, or do you want to be Austin experts and
Exactly.
Louisville experts. What's the long-term vision?
So the long-term vision is actually, I know that this model that we have is not specifically geographically successful. Like, it's something that can be duplicated across the country. The reality is that agents are hungry for mentorship. They're hungry for training. They're hungry for coaching. They're hungry for accountability. And I think that there's a lot of things to our model that can be successful all over the country. So I definitely would love to see experts that are hyper-local everywhere, with deploying the same. But you've got to find people who are willing to invest in others in order for it to work. Otherwise, it's no different than any other model out there.
Yeah. It's very personnel driven. You've got to have the right people. Yeah.
Well, you've got to have someone who will call their agents weekly. You've got to have someone
they got to be bought in,
who is willing to sit down and do those coaching sessions with their agents and really extract ideas and help them develop their ideas. And that's not going to happen if you're only concerned about a paycheck at the end of the day from what you're going to get off your agents. You got to have somebody who says, I want to pour into you.
Yeah.
And I want to watch you grow.
Yeah.
So I do want to see that happen. For me and Laura Dahl, there is always an exit strategy. So, I don't want to be doing this for 90 years.
No.
But I like to leave legacies everywhere I go. So, in Buford, I think I left behind an amazing legacy of how to do things that was different than the way they did them.
Yeah.
So that's kind of our tagline, is deliberately different as well. And, I'm trying to create agents who operate differently, who live in that extra mile, because there's plenty of room there.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And who are able to differentiate themselves from the rest, who can articulate to other people, who can explain.
Here's why I am deliberately different.
Here's why I'm different than all the other 20 realtors you know.
Yeah.
And it's going to happen, and the change is going to happen one agent at a time.
Sure. I love it. So you started putting pen to paper and or do you just want that growth to happen organically into other markets?
Well, I definitely want to create an incredible foundation here that's going to support that.
Sure.
And creating that in other markets. I honestly, truly believe it's not a matter of, how to do it. It's just the energy that it takes to make that happen in other places.
Yeah.
So, it's going to take leadership from a much higher level across the country, at national events and things like that, and sharing that model with other people. But it'll happen. I just, I'm trying to get 2 kids out of high school. So I got one down.
One graduating on Friday, right?
That's right.
Congrats.
So 1 down, 1 to go. So, but I do have plans of, that's the global vision of what I'd like to see happen. I just don't have it all mapped out on how, but it's...
You got your hands full right now here.
It's not complicated. Yeah.
So how old is your youngest?
He is 15.
Okay, because I met your oldest, right? Okay.
Yeah, and the 15-year-old just got his braces off today, so he's got all nice, shiny, pretty teeth.
Nice, nice, that's fun.
Just getting him through high school and out, of the nest. He claims he wants to get into real estate, so we'll see.
Interesting.
Gave him the lowdown of what else is required to get a license.
It's hard.
It's harder work than people think, that's for sure.
Yeah, no one told me. It was really hard.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, too, with you, you had to learn a lot on your own, as you just finding your way, and that's kind of one of the things that we try to do that's a little different is it takes 7 to 10 transactions for an agent, a newly licensed agent, to feel confident about what they're doing, to feel like, okay, I know how things are going to work, I know what pitfalls to avoid, I know what my role is and how I can help. Well, those 7 to 10 people deserve your very best. And so my job is to try to shorten that experience gap so that those agents know and are prepared and are confident in what they're doing right out the gate. And so that you're not spinning your wheels in 20 different directions to see what works. You've got a proven method of what works. And what works for me may not work for somebody else, but we're going to figure out what your business looks like and then help you figure out what's the best way to go about it.
For sure.
Without having to figure it out. Which is what most agents have to do.
Yeah, I think, and that's definitely big value add for y'all is just the mentorship. Before I started in real estate, when I was exploring going into real estate, one of my mentors was like, you need to find the best agent that you can possibly find and see if they'll mentor you. And so I literally Googled #1 real estate agent in Nashville, and Terry DeSelms popped up at the time. And I called him, and he's kind of on his way out of the door. But they were like, yeah, come on board. And so I just tried to learn and soak up as much from from him as I could. But I was thinking about it this morning. I saw you see these posts on Facebook all the time, like, hey, what do you do? Do you get a buyer's rep signed, or do you do this, or do you do this? And it's just crazy, all these, like, what I would consider foundational things that people are clueless about, and that they can't, like, talk to someone within their brokerage about.
Right.
And they're going to Facebook, and not that that's wrong, but it's telling of the culture of most brokerages within our industry.
100%. And I'm in the process. I wrote a course called Broker Boot Camp. It's 10 classes with 11 hands-on labs. So when I teach an agent how to do a buyer-broker agreement, the lab is the hands-on part where they're going to actually do it and present it and practice it and role play. I teach them how to show a property, like how you're building rapport and trust as you walk through the various rooms. You're opening the lockbox. You're, guiding them through the house, extracting information from them and whatnot. And so I'm in the process of getting that approved for CE credit.
What's that process like, by the way? Because I was thinking about that, and I'm like you talked about social media some, but I feel like I'm like the best at social media, and I need to help people. But I don't know what the CE approval process is like, and I've got a couple courses that I do.
Well, yeah, that you should be getting CE approved.
Yeah, and so what's that?
So
like?
You have to take a class that's called Instruct the Instructor. That is, and GNAR hosts it as well. I think they do it once a year, maybe twice a year. But if you are ever going to write a course for CE credit, you have to take that class.
Sure.
And then you write your course out. Your course has to have, an outline, has to have timing, so you know how long it takes to cover what material. You've got to have slides or some type of, hands out stuff to go with it. And then you have to have objectives for what they're going to learn along the way. And then you send that to track for them to approve it. And so they only meet once a month. So if you're planning on teaching a class next week for CE credit, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, for sure.
So you send it over to them for approval, and then they'll kick it back to you if it doesn't meet the requirements that you need to have. But the Instruct the Instructor course will walk you through all the things your course needs to have in order for it to get approval. And they usually have a board member who approves the classes come speak at that class that will say, here's what I'm looking for.
Got it.
But to offer the CE class, my thing is most of my agents take the Broker Bootcamp class from me anyway, and I even offer it to agents outside of my office. Because again, I want you all to be prepared because I'm going to be working with you. They're going to be working with you, right? And so I teach it to every people, but it would be great if they could get CE credit for it. But it is all the things that you don't learn in licensing.
Yeah, the important stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Like how to conduct an open house. Or even just how to write a contract. We even do a scavenger hunt and trivia game that we do with the purchase and sale agreement.
That's fun.
I want them to know it like the back of their hand.
That's good. That's fun.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But you should do that. You should look into the Instruct the Instructor.
Yeah, it's GNAR is right around the corner.
Yep.
So
that's where I took mine, but you should check and find out when they're hosting that. But you've got to do that in order to be able to get a class approved.
Good to know. Yeah, because I was thinking about reaching out to Brian Campbell or something. I guess he would know. But so that's what I need to do.
Yeah, it just happened that you found with the right person today. So
there we go.
Yeah.
So what's been in your 20 plus years of real estate? What's been the hardest thing that you've ever had to deal with in your career?
I wish that I didn't say it, but sometimes it's working with other agents that are not easy to work with, to be honest.
I get it.
I wish I could come up with some better answer for you, but that has been the hardest and most difficult is, reminding people to stay level-headed, reminding people to remain professional, reminding people that at the end of the day, our job is to represent our client's best interest. And there are some agents who fight like a pit bull with a bone and will not let go of the bone, and they're doing more damage to the transaction and more damage for their client than good.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can be the most experienced broker. You can be the owner of your own company and a broker with years of experience in multiple states. And you're just working with someone who's so hard-headed and stubborn that it's very difficult to get deals done.
Sure.
That's, I think, the most challenging part. And people who don't know what they're doing. I've moved to a new state and had to learn the laws, had to learn the rules and the customs of what's normal in the new state. I worked a transaction with an agent who was from Illinois, And I represent the buyer, and I wrote a beautiful, clean offer. So beautiful and clean for us is the seller pays the title maybe and a home warranty, but there were no concessions, no contingencies.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
No warranty and title. Well, this agent was not familiar. It was his first deal in Tennessee, I believe, and he was not familiar with what was custom in our county, or even in the state. And he yelled at me about, how dare you ask for seller concessions? And I was baffled. I don't know what you mean. What are you asking? What do you mean? Like, this is a clean offer. And he said, no, you asked for title and you asked for a warranty. This is just ridiculous in this market. And so, of course, I encouraged him. I really would like for you to speak with your broker. Ask them if this is customary. Every offer he sees on his desk, I'm sure.
He could have just declined it if his clients were so offended.
100%. And every conversation from there on out was, him recording my conversations. It just turned really ugly. And it was very difficult to get what my client wanted, which is ultimately they just wanted the house and they were willing to pay for it cash. Like, this is not complicated. But he made it so hard and so difficult.
I think that some people, they think that that's what you're supposed to do, and that's why they do that.
Right.
I had like one of the last kind of deals that I was a part of. It was a listing, and the buyer's agent, they were like, "Hey," they wrote a good offer. They were asking for, which is customary, but this particular house just has so much demand, and it was like a first-time home buyer type price point, and so they were asking for warranty and they were asking for title, and so we just said no. We just said no. He was like, really, like not even like warranty or title? I just said no. Like that was it, just no. Yeah. And so he's like, I'm like, okay. And he comes back, it's like, no warranty, no title, no nothing. It's like, all right, cool, man. Like, we can roll it. Let's do it. But I just don't understand, like, people puffing their chest out, like,
At the end of the day, we are advocates for our client.
Yeah.
But again,
we're industry partners too.
You have to cooperate with the other agents, and so that's my biggest challenge. I mean, I've done some stupid things. I've locked myself out of houses. I've let myself into the wrong house that I thought was for sale that had a sign, had a lockbox, but the address was not the one that was supposed to be showing. I've done crazy things, but I think at the end of the day, any agent who's ever worked with me over 20-some years would say that I was not hard to work with. I was not horrible. I can't think of many situations where and there are not agents in this town I know of that I've worked with that would not work with me again.
Sure, yeah.
But
that's huge.
But I don't understand why some people can't be like that.
Yeah.
I have some people that when I see their name on the contract, I already know it's going to be a problem, and it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah. One of those where it's like, oh, you see who requested the showing? It's like, no.
Or your client says, I really want to see this house, and it's like, God, I pray that this is the one they want to buy. But, of course you're going to show it to them anyway. And of course you're going to write the contract anyway. But you already know you're going to have to hold your breath.
For sure.
Bite your tongue.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to operate just a little differently to get through it. But that would be my biggest challenge, is just agents who are unprepared. When the market's great, everybody wants to get a license. And I know a lot of brokers love that because that's how you build your numbers. That's how you add agents. But, you've got to make sure they're prepared for what they're doing. And you've got to make sure that they're trained and, that they're not just, out in the marketplace doing whatever the heck they want. And I tell people all the time, I've had this license for 20-some years. This is how I feed my children. I'd really like to keep it. So, if you're the kind of agent who does their own thing without oversight and you don't like being told that you did it wrong, this isn't the right place for you.
Yeah.
I really have become attached to my license. I like it.
Sure, you like it, yeah.
I'd like to keep it.
Yeah.
So, and I think more brokers should be more invested in making sure that their agents are cooperating. When you get a complaint about the same agent over and over and over again, you have a responsibility to call them in and talk to them about it and talk about the way that they're conducting their business. Because it reflects poorly on you and your company.
Well, it's interesting. I think that there's a piece of the pie for everyone, because I think there's a lot of agents too who, like you said, just want to go do their own thing.
Sure.
But what's so interesting about this conversation to me is that you, Laura Dahl, were Laura Dahl when you were teaching students. And so like that's just who you're going to be,
sure,
no matter what you do. And so you're going to love on your people. You're going to be invested. You're going to pour into them. Where some people, they're just like, nope, just very transactional and want to be hands off.
Sure.
And that might be a fit for some people.
And I have agents that some of my staff members have never seen. They've never met. They don't come to anything. You know, they just do their own thing.
Yeah.
But they still get a weekly call.
Yeah.
They still get a weekly call.
Yeah.
They don't answer. They don't call back. Then we don't bother them. But we're going to call.
Yeah.
You know? And they still get checked in on by me. Like, hey, I just want to check in on you. And they'll talk to me. But no one's ever met them. No one's ever seen them. So, I mean, you have the ability in our office to do your own thing. But you're going to at least get somebody checking in on you.
Sure.
You know, just to see how things are going or if you need help. You're not going to just sit and wallow for 6 months and maybe you're struggling. Maybe you're having some personal stuff going on. We're going to at least care enough about you to find out. Are you okay?
Yeah, absolutely. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, good stuff. I really appreciate you coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Anyone that's interested in building a strong culture and how to pour into others, I think they'll really, really, really enjoy this. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.